around here. Got a sponsor for Bob, the president of basketball operations and GM of the Golden State Warriors.
I mean, it's an appropriate sponsor. Blood in, blood out. La Familia, Bonte, Butch, and Bob.
What do you know? That sounds good. What's up, Bob?
You like that, didn't you?
I kind of like that. It's our own little Triple B segment. Bob, Bonte, and Butch. What do you think, Bob?
God. I don't know what to say. I don't even know what to say to that. I guess it's good.
I guess it's
glad to be on
good.
the show, guys.
What's not good, though, Bob, is that a lot of people were asking about you going to Butcher's championship game a couple weeks ago, CYO championship, which they won. They held on.
Oh my God,
held on and won by 4.
I forgot.
But a lot of people were like, "Did Bob go?
Yeah,
did Bob go?" It's like,
I know.
Bob's got better things to do. He's got to run a basketball team.
I thought it. I mean, you don't believe me, but I thought about it. It's close to my house. I thought about it. I didn't do it. I told Raymond, I'm going to stop by the game. I mean, it's hard to explain to the wife when I got 3 of my own kids. And where are you going? Well, I'm going to this town. What are you doing? I just wanted to check out this 5th grade. This guy coaching. It's not going to work.
Hey, you know what? While we're on this one, you know what? Like, honest to God here, I want to ask you a serious basketball question because I've had this happen with me. No, I'm serious. Like, players got to play. You feel so helpless as a coach, right. and I can only imagine how helpless you feel as a GM once they like inbound the ball and they're in play. It's like everything's kind of locked in. It's up to the players to make plays. You can help a little here and there, and you can try to set them up with plays, but they're going to win or lose on their own accord to some extent. When you hear all this criticism of Steve Kerr and late game situations and blowing leads and all this, how do you guys as a front office, as a coaching staff, as a team and an organization, how do you guys deal with losses like that?
Well, you coach, I mean, anybody that's coached, and I think maybe some of the listeners like sports, you coach at some level, you make so many decisions, and you see it in every sport. Baseball, you see it in football all the time. You see it in every sport. When it doesn't work, it's pretty easy to scrutinize what went wrong as a coach and what you should have done. But the truth is, whatever sport you coach, you're making, in a course of a game, 100 or more decisions, right? You're just making if you're calling a ton of plays. Football, these guys make so many decisions. Inevitably, you're going to make some ones you would not do if you had a chance to go back. You'd change them. But that's life. I mean, you ask anybody to make 100 decisions in anything, and they're not going to get it all right. And the reason why people are so hard on coaches is they care about their team, right? I mean, that's where it comes from. It's not apathy. I mean, if we didn't care, you wouldn't criticize a coach or me for what I do. It comes from passion, and that's why, when you talk about working in this market, you got to understand if you work here, which I think is an underrated. I've always thought this market for basketball is highly underrated. You guys grew up here.
Yep.
The basketball fans in this area, I put them up against anybody, and always have been that way. Forget about our run of the past. I grew up here too. I mean, even the 80s, 90s when the team wasn't as great, people love the Warriors. It's crazy. And the 49ers and Giants, and go back when the A's were big in the Bay Area. We're lucky to work in a place where people care as much as they do. And you talk about, somebody was talking, I think you guys were talking about the Rams parade.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's like, remember our parades in Oakland? I mean, I'll never forget how well attended and how passionate that was. If you didn't know, then you knew then.
Yep.
The fan base of our market. So, saying all that, Joe, picture at town, and you got thousands of people. They'd crush you for many things you did or didn't do, and that's part of coaching.
Yeah.
Right. It just, but look. The flip side of that coin is you do get the praise when things go well. You get that too, right? You do get celebrated because Steve, I love him. He's a front-facing, probably the most front-facing guy besides Curry and these other guys. So when things go well, you get that too. So that's why I think coaching is such a hard profession, is because in this day, with the media, with social media, it takes some pretty thick skin to keep moving. What do? We support Steve. I mean, it's not about 2 games. It's about 8 years. It's not about a couple games here and there. So
yeah, no doubt. And a lot of people want to say, oh, well, he's got great players. Well, every coach has won championships has had great players. Just look at the history of the NBA. I don't fight with people on Twitter no more, Bob. I kind of left that alone. But no, I don't. I really don't, man. They had a Twitter Spaces the other day. The headline was, Steve Kerr, mediocre coach, should be on the hot seat. I was just like, man, this is insane. But you know what? You got to love the passion of the fan base, man. They're locked in every single game. So with that said, Bob, how much do you guys think you'll push for that top seed now? Phoenix, no Chris Paul. You guys are 6 games back. It's 21 to play. 8 home games, 13 road games. Memphis is right behind you. Does that matter right now for you guys, or is it more about let's get Wiseman back, let's get Draymond back, let's get Klay Thompson back from this illness? We'll get to that in just a second. But how much will you guys push for that high seed?
Well, look, a lot of people say it doesn't matter. I don't say that. I think it all matters, right? How you're playing when you're down a couple guys, how you're playing when you're fully healthy. Health is important, and everybody says it doesn't matter. We're just going to be healthy. Well, I'm not going to say seeding doesn't matter. Some people say that. I wouldn't go that far. Sure, we'd love to have the highest seed we can, not at the risk of putting guys in difficult spots and getting them injured to do it. But, yeah, I mean, look, I think you want as many home court games as you can get. It's easy to be dismissive and say, who cares? But that would mean you're not even valuing the games you're playing, which we do. So I think at this point, if we could run down that, sure. Is that reasonable or realistic? I think it'd be more reasonable if we had the full complement of our team, which includes Draymond, and you see how much we miss many facets of what he does.
Right.
But, yeah, I think, Vontae, it's not nothing. I wouldn't dismiss it. But again, it's not everything either.
Yeah. You're talking about Draymond and how much you guys miss him. B and I were talking about, on-ball defense or even his help defense it's outstanding. I think he's one of the greatest help defenders the NBA's ever seen. I think, though, you guys just miss his communication on defense more than anything. Him barking out, go under this particular screen. Hey, this guy's coming over here. Like, his brain and his communicating on the court is so sorely missed. What do you think the biggest aspect, like the specific thing you guys miss the most from Draymond is?
I think leadership, and it's to me, it's sure you mentioned things that he does on the court, but I think it's leadership and accountability. It's the same way if you guys, probably when you leave your show every day how well you did, but maybe it's like, we didn't do a good job today. Who cares? What if you had someone on your show or your producer when you walked out and he said, hey, let me talk to you, Joe. Let me talk about you. That show was crap. That's not going to work. You need that type of someone to hold the line. And with that leadership and accountability comes winning. Because there's slippage, right? There's slippage when you feel – it's why people get personal trainers. So I don't need a personal trainer. I work by myself. I guarantee if you get somebody good or a coach in life or a coach in anything, they will make you better because they hold you accountable. If nobody criticized your show ever, I bet your show wouldn't be that good.
Well,
you want people to say, how did I do today? You want somebody to say, you got to be better than that. That's what Draymond does with our team. He holds first of all, defensively, he's a savant. Like nobody, he was born a savant. I mean, his whole life he's understood defense. But beyond that, even if he did that, it's his voice. And I think you referenced that a little bit, the communication. But it goes beyond the game. It goes into the locker room. It goes into the practice facility. That leadership's always been a huge part of what makes him so valuable to us.
Our producer, John Curley, he's leaving us Wednesday, Bob, and he tells us after every show, oh, man, that was a great show. Oh, that was a great segment. So I don't know if we're getting better for that. We need somebody like a Draymond Green. Got any recommendations? We got Sam Lubman who's going for the job, vying for it, but he's telling us the same thing. Hey, you guys are awesome. It's like, I don't know.
Bunch of yes men.
You guys know you played sports. I mean, there's always that guy that you kind of have one eye on and that says this isn't good enough. I mean, there's that guy. And so you gotta that we miss it. You do. Every team that I think is successful has that type of guy on it, and it sometimes isn't. Like I use Ronnie Lott as an example. Was he better than Jerry Rice, Joe Montana? No, but he probably had a value beyond what he did on the field,
no doubt,
and what he did in the locker room, is my guess. And I know Ronnie a little bit, but I have to believe that's true.
No doubt. It is true. Heck, when he was with the Raiders and Charles Haley went crazy with the Niners in the locker room, they had to go get Ronnie Lott to calm down Charles Haley. He wasn't even on the team anymore. So, no, you're spot on with Ronnie Lott there. Anything on James Wiseman? He's still day-to-day. We see him working out there. When can we – anything you've seen from James Wiseman to think, okay, we have a target date here for a game?
I don't have a target date. I talked to Steve last night. He was watching him do 3-on-3. He's done 5-on-5. You know, it's really about having enough of that body of work to then say go play. And I leave it to Rick Celebrini and our medical staff to say how many of those do you need? I mean, how many games like that, and how do you respond? And seems to be doing really well. I saw James at our game on Sunday, and he said he's feeling great. That's important. But the reps are the big thing. And so he's got to rep as many times as he can because he missed so much time. But it's all moving in the right direction. I'm the same as you guys. I've asked this question more than I care to admit as to when. And the best thing I can tell you is we're in a better place than we were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, because he's playing consistently live basketball. And that's the final part to playing. And whether he starts in Santa Cruz or the NBA, I don't know yet. But the idea would be to get him at least maybe a game in Santa Cruz, and then, you know, get him hopefully some time with our team, and let Steve decide how he wants to use him. But, you know, he's progressing fine. It's just hopefully in the next week or two or whatever it is, we can find a time to get him out on the court.
I can't wait. I'm pulling for the kid, and we know he's had a rough little road here, especially the rookie year criticisms. I thought he played really well at the beginning of the year, and it's just unfortunate what happened. It was a tough season for everybody. But we heard Steve Kerr on our airwave with Damon and Rado say, hey, you guys everybody needs to kind of temper their expectations for James Wiseman. If you were, being fully candid, you and Steve are going to come to some sort of an agreement, obviously working together. What do you think that role is? Is it a minute allocation? Is it like a rim defender? What do you think that his envision for this year is? What's reasonable?
Well, it's to be determined because we have to see how he looks. But reasonable, I think it depends on who you talk to. Because if I asked you and Vontae what you think he is, I might tell one of you, hey, that's too much or that's not enough. So I think if you look at what he can do, that he's uniquely gifted at, which is vertical spacing, which is really a pick-and-roll dive threat. It's some rim protection, some rebounding, it's some size, it's some physicality. And then it's up to Steve and the staff to simplify what they ask him to do early on. Because last year, I think we all would raise our hand and say it was a free-for-all. It was like, James, go do whatever you want. And that isn't good for any 19-year-old. Even with Kuminga can probably do a lot more than we have him do, but they put him in a role and kind of put him in a lane. And so this is what you're going to do for now. Eventually he may be a usage guy or ball handler. James, same way. Eventually he may be, taking three-point shots and doing different things. But for now, it's simple. But as far as what we expect of him, it's going to be interesting because it's going to be up to Steve to see how we use him. Remember back in, it was a 16-17, where in the Houston series, we never played JaVale because the Harden switches were tough for him.
Yep.
And so we played Looney. But then in Cleveland, I think they did a better job of dealing with the Looney the Looney lineup. So we played JaVale to kind of free it up, have a diver, and it really opened things up. So it's a little bit situational with James right now. Eventually it won't be. He'll be a constant guy. If you look at baseball's analogy, some guys are in the lineup every night. Eventually that'll be it. But when it starts, it might be this is a situational time where we throw him out there. I know that's not a great answer, but that's the best I can give you as far as how he might be used.
No, we get it. Matchup dependent for James Wiseman in this second season, and of course a minutes restriction as well. Klay Thompson, Bob, as we have Bob Myers here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game for the Executive Show.
It's the gospel this morning.
Yes, he is spitting gospel.
He's on fire.
He is on fire. What about Klay Thompson? Did he eat a bad burger, have a bad burrito? What's going on with him, man? He's out tonight against Minnesota. Of course, he missed the other night against Dallas. What's going on with Klay?
I mean, I don't know. I got to ask him if he did eat. Whatever he did, it didn't come out the right way. So I think he's sick. Everybody thinks you're sick now. It's COVID. It wasn't that, but he got sick. I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess it's going around, but nobody else I don't think on our team got it, as far as I know. But he was sick. It's too bad. I mean, we could have used him in that game. We could use him tonight. Klay more than anybody wants to play, especially how much time he's missed. Yeah. He always wanted to play, whether he was playing every night or not. So he's probably going to meet the team in Dallas is the plan, and then play in that game on Thursday.
Dallas game. Go ahead, Shasky.
I can't wait to see Klay back. Let me tell you, your boy had a stomach ache last week. I know all about it. You say that you're a little sick, and everyone immediately assumes it's COVID these days. And I tested negative and everything, but I totally relate with where Klay's at because I had a sore tummy myself. Kuminga. Every single game, this guy does 2 or 3 or 4 things, and you're like, oh, my God, sky's the limit. But can he get some damn calls on the court? I know he's a rookie, but geez Louise, he gets no whistles. Like that little hook around was a weak call. The goaltend was a huge play in the fourth quarter. I didn't think it was a goaltend.
I think Scott Foster was standing next to Bob Myers where he sits at when he made that call.
I'm like, can we review that? Like, I don't know. I'm watching Kuminga, and the sky's the limit. How are you guys looking at his rookie season overall? Because I'm just seeing this ball of clay that I think can be one of the best players in the league at some point in his career.
It's interesting you mentioned the call. We were walking back to the locker room at halftime, and I walked back through the tunnel, and he happened to be right next to me, and I grabbed him and I said, "Listen, you're not going to get these calls." And he's shaking his head. He's like, "I didn't even, complaining about saying he didn't do anything." I said, "It doesn't matter. You're not getting these calls." I said, "But there's going to come a time in your career where you're going to get calls you shouldn't get." I said, so it all evens out. If he becomes what I think he will, and you guys do, then you become that guy where you get those fouls your way, because that's what happens. But no rookie, it just doesn't, for a rookie to get to the line as much as he does is almost a testament to how good he can be. His free throw rate is kind of off the charts as far as just at any position, how many times he gets fouled. He is not even getting the benefit of the doubt as a rookie. But most rookies don't.
Right.
But once he establishes himself, you guys know, you've watched the NBA a ton of it. Eventually, though, he'll be that guy where the other team will be complaining, "I didn't touch him. I didn't even do anything." So it swings around, but it's hard to hear that at 19, like, be patient, it's going to swing back your way. But you're right. And as far as what he can be, anything he wants, I suppose. But he's got to do the work. He's got to stay. I think he's in a good spot as far as learning how to win, because you see a lot of young players, super talented, and for some reason that final piece is winning. So for him to be around winning, Andre and I were texting last night, Iguodala, who's that guy, we miss him too. I know
no doubt.
Talked about a lot.
Is he golfing right now? What's he doing?
No, he's playing. He was playing the 3-on-3 game with James.
Oh, okay.
I think, at Juan out there. So I was talking to Andre. I was asking how James looked. And I was talking to Andre about the team and this and that. And, he's so smart. He's so respected. He's so experienced. And we miss him more than the fans. I know people like Andre and everything, but he's a real big cog in the machine. He really is a big factor if we're going to do anything in the playoffs. Just his wisdom. He's a winner, too. Bottom line, I don't use that term loosely. We're missing him. And Draymond and Andre have won a lot. They have won a lot in their career. And we're sprinkling in young guys and some veteran guys, but we need that kind of pedigree of those two to really see what we can be.
No, Bob, before we let you go, you talk about Andre Iguodala, and you're right. I see him there on the sidelines. He's coaching all the time, especially with Jordan Poole. And then Andrew Wiggins here, who had a rough month of February. Look, great honor for him to go to the All-Star game and start, but the free throw percentage is down to 41% in the month of February. You guys limped to 5-5. Still number 2 in the West. Memphis is coming. But what do you guys talk about when it comes to Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins to get them rolling here? Because I know you guys anticipate playing deep in the playoffs, and Poole and Wiggins are big-time X factors for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We got to find a way to help them get out of it a little bit. I think there's been a lot of, not to be critical of anything, but there's been a lot of lineup shakeups as far as when you're coming and going. And so that you guys played, it makes it hard to kind of know your role. It's changed so much. It's not a bad thing, but we need to probably start honing in on that part of both of their games. Kind of where do we put you in the best spot to succeed? Who are you out there with? A little challenging without Draymond and Andre, because we're going to have to do that again when they come back. But, when Klay came back, Poole goes to the bench. Okay, that's a big adjustment. And Jordan said all the right things, but it's a bigger adjustment. Not to make excuses, you still got to perform.
Right.
Wiggins had to adjust to Klay because there's a lot of shots going the other way. Bottom line, our job, my job in the front office, is to put as much talent as we can on the floor. And then the coaches and players have to figure out at some level how to make it all work. Yeah. We've seen it in spots.
Right.
We're going to need to kind of find that rhythm here in the last 20 games. And more importantly, when Draymond gets back and heading into the playoffs, is how do we get the most out of not only those guys, but everybody. But there's been some ups and downs for sure. But we got to find our way out of it for those guys.
Before you get on out here, we got Bob Myers with us, the head czar of the Golden State Warriors right now. You were talking about coming to my 5th grade game. And so I'm sure at some point you've been scouting juniors in the L.A. area. Have you already contacted LeBron about his son Bronny? Because I know the Warriors want to be the entertainment mogul of the area. I'm watching that All-Star game, and Bonte gets on me, but Curry and LeBron, it's a lot of fun.
I'm not going to lie.
Is.
It'd be like asking Bird to play with Magic.
It's a lot of fun.
You can't do this.
So
it's
I'm thinking
sacrilegious.
Bronny, Steph, we bring in LeBron at the end. We win a couple titles. What do you think?
Bob has a lot of good hair, man. You bring in LeBron. I don't know if Bob's going to be able to hold on to that hair, dude.
Wait, I don't understand how you just segued from your 5th grade that to LeBron. I don't get the. How did you make that connection?
Hot knife through butter, Bob.
High school. Okay. Yeah. All right.
In his brain, it works, Bob. It works in his brain. I don't want to get you
in trouble for tampering too. So
yeah,
my bad.
You're trying to get the guy fined.
My bad.
I'm gonna leave that one. If you got the money, I'll talk about anything you want.
No, I don't.
Yeah, then you cover the fine. We can talk about anything you want.
You know me. But free as me.
You know Joe Lacob loves stars, but I don't know about that.
I am loving that the Lakers suck right now. I'm not going to lie. There's a satisfaction that I'm getting out of that.
See, you guys are putting. I'm not. I should hang up the phone.
You should hang up the phone.
I mean, what am I doing with this? There's nothing good that can happen.
There's nothing good. Go, Bob. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks, man. You're the best, man.
Yeah, all right.
We'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
All right,
Bob.